A hunter must hunt.
18 months in the cult, do I get a prize? Do we get punch cards and after the 10th punch we can sacrifice something?
A hunter must hunt.
Al4Z happy.
Are you under some impression that you're not allowed to sacrifice things unless I tell you you can? You're always allowed to sacrifice things. The Dark Lord demands it.
A hunter
You
must
are the
hunt.
cult leader. That doesn't mean... That doesn't mean you should be dissuaded from making offerings.
A hunter must hunt.
Okay, good. The latest YouTube VOD is done uploading, so we can close that. And we don't have any problem with dropping frames. Excellent. Let's go ahead and crank this down a smidge. Let's go to this. Welcome, my children. My children, my adoring faithful. Welcome. Is Cthulhu with us? Cthulhu is always with us on this stream. Welcome, my friends. Man, my goodness, we've already got Maticus Maximus gifting us 5 new cult initiates. Sathok, Chefkey, Hyperwork, Potate Cat, and Mazik. Welcome to the All Has Red team, my friends. Thanks for supporting the stream, Maticus, as always. Sushi Knife with the 10 months. Welcome back. Stay Blazing with the 11 months of Bezos indoctrination. Welcome back. And Jiffaram with the 18 months. Now X with the follow. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to be here. After 24 months, we get a Cobalt Strike license. I'm not buying you a Cobalt Strike license. Although if they want to go in, if the Cobalt Strike people want to go in with me on that, I'm more than welcome. They're more than welcome to sponsor me. I would be happy to. I already push their product plenty on this stream implicitly. Oh, my goodness! Can you link your blog, please, my friend? Fantasy, I'm about to blow your mind. Okay, I'm about to blow your mind. Are you aware that there are places on the internet you can go? And you can type in a keyword, like any keyword, such as, for example, Husky Hacks, and then press enter, and then it'll just bring up the thing you're looking for, just kind of by magic. Are you aware of that? Yes, much like Pornhub, but without, well, not without porn, but with less porn. With less porn. Like, certainly a site called, certainly a search for something like Husky Hacks is gonna bring up some porn, not zero porn, a non-zero amount of porn, but less porn than it will on Pornhub is my point I'm trying to say. Sites like Bing, you're riffing on Bing, but legitimately, if we're talking porn, real talk, Bing is the best search engine for porn. I'm not even joking. This is not a riv on Bing. Bing is absolutely unadulterated the best search engine for porn. Like, for example, you're in the classic porn scenario where there's one video that you saw like 8 years ago and you can't remember. You can't remember quite what the video is. So you type it into Bing. You type in some keywords into Bing. And the nice thing is you can mouse over each of the search results and it'll play a little clip of the video so you can figure out if you're dealing with the correct clip or not. It's absolutely the best for that specific application of search engines. You missed Tib roasting you in encryption. I guarantee you he didn't do a good job of it. And I mean, I don't even have to work hard. He's just in that stupid British voice he does. His aggressively British voice. That's a very accurate description. How did you know these things? I'm a connoisseur of search engines specifically. I use a lot of search engines for things. Yeah, things. Ah, my goodness. So, what hath befallen us this day? Tibbs is he absolutely is deranged. We're not doing the we're not going back to the Zor situation. We're not doing it. It's not. Listen. I've made my case, and his case is, well, technically, you can encrypt it and then you can reverse it. Okay. I missed that part of the stream. This is born from a week ago when we did some of Over the Wire Natas, and there was one that involved Zor encryption, and I said Zor encryption isn't encryption, and he said it was, and then we had and then we fought about it for a while. Opponent, this is untrue, fake news. This is fake news that we're bringing about here. Okay, listen, I'm not going to tolerate fake news in the chat. And he's like, I took a 37-hour college course on the fact that Zor is encryption. And I was like, this is why college is overpriced. Get your money back on those student loans. Jesus Christ. He suggested a box where the solution was a comment hidden for no reason in an Apache default page. Oh, that's a classic, dude. That's a classic right there. How long were you stuck for before you realized it? How long were you there? Fucking ages? Oh yeah, that's a classic. That's an absolute classic. Let's you know what? Let's talk about this today for our news segment. I really want to do a daily quick news segment, but today I forgot to review the news because honestly I'm super backlogged on work and I've just been really heads down trying to test shit. Honestly, I'm extremely unhappy at my current job. They're really annoying me. But he suggested a prediction of under 5 minutes, so it costs a lot of people money. Yikes. Well, maybe we'll do some predictions today. I need to do more predictions. A former NSA employee just got arrested for trying to sell secrets. What else is new? Okay, so John Hammond did a video on this, so make sure to check out his video if you want the whole story. But there are two new zero-day vulnerabilities in Microsoft Exchange, if you haven't heard. One is a server-side request forgery, and one is an authenticated remote code execution vulnerability. But as far as I know, no actual legitimate proof of concept has been publicly released yet. I don't know if it's under active exploitation or not. But what John Hammond has been pointing out on Twitter is that people have been creating these fake GitHub accounts. Like literally creating a GitHub account to put up a GitHub repo with fake exploits. And all the files are fake and they just link you to files on Satoshi Disk. If you don't know what Satoshi Disk is, it's a site you can go to download files by paying Bitcoin. So you have to pay Bitcoin, then you can download the files. This is all a scam. This is all a complete scam. I sincerely doubt that any of the exploits that are being marketed in this way are legitimate. Sincerely recommend that you do not. John Hammond made a video on this a few days. Yeah, I know. I pointed it out. He's been banging this drum on Twitter a little bit, and he did a video on it the other day. I just wanted to highlight it as well because it is an important thing. This happens. This is not a new thing. This happens every single time a big new exploit comes out. Like a whole bunch of scam accounts pop up on GitHub trying to grift you out of some money. Just be aware of it, and don't go looking for 0 days. Okay. I only prefer sites that require you to pay for NFTs. It's 2022. I'll pay with one of my Reddit NFTs. Did anyone buy this exploit? Why the fuck would anyone buy the exploit? Yeah, I'm sure all of 3 people bought the actual exploits and whatever, dude. No. Probably. I mean, I'm sure that some people bought them. They wouldn't do this if it didn't work. Like, it's $420. Nice. That's the drugs number. Anyway, I just wanted to point it out. Okay? What else we got going on? Anything else interesting happening? Again, I forgot to review the news at all today. I've really been heads down. Yes, Teams phishing messages. Windows 11. Great. Is anything going on that's interesting and not just, like, literally just ransomware again? Windows 11 being bad? Yes, we are aware. Hacking group hides backdoor malware inside Windows logo image. That's pretty cool. Steganography. Uses steganography to hide a backdoor malware in a Windows logo. Why didn't you do this, Husky? Why didn't you do this? I'm offended. Why isn't your favicon.ico some steganography crap? The fix for the Exchange server doesn't work. I mean, it does. There's just a bypass for it. So it's not wholly effective, is my understanding. That's what I've been reading about it. It's not easily wormable because it is authenticated. So it's not as sexy as the last Microsoft Exchange SSTI. Or not SSTI, SSRF, excuse me. Because it's not risotto group. That is true. Is it an undercooked risotto? Overcooked risotto does make me, yeah. It does. It's pretty. Fake U.S. government job officers push Cobalt Strike. Installing Cobalt Strike with malicious documents. Installing Cobalt Strike. I mean, what else is fucking new? In other news, hackers are sending malware in phishing emails. No way. No. Okay. All right. That's enough of that. All right. Let's get started. We got TryHackMe to do, okay? We're doing TryHackMe today. Yeah, I know. I heard about Havoc. I have not actually started experimenting with it yet. If you haven't heard about Havoc, Havoc is the new free C2 framework on the block. According to John Hammond, it currently bypasses Windows Defender, like just the default agent bypasses Windows Defender, apparently. I don't know. I have not played around with it at all yet. The UI is gorgeous. Can't say anything about the technicals. Dude, I don't understand why Cobalt Strike has always been so far behind in the UI department. I mean, can they not get one web developer in here and just make us a nice web-based UI? I don't feel like I'm asking for too much here. I understand they're trying to put their dev time where it counts, and that's all cool. But I still think it would not take very much to just make a nice web-based UI sort of situation. Honestly, every C2 has a better UI than Cobalt Strike, except for Sliver, which is all command line, I believe. Although Sliver might have a GUI UI now. Who knows? Alrighty. What are we doing? What are we doing today, friends? It's Newbie Tuesday. So I figured we took on Takedown last time. So we do something a little bit beginner friendly this time. What do you guys think? Let's go to newest. Cyber defense. Learn about the fort. Okay, no. We're going to do challenges. Corridor. That's brand new. You can throw that in there. Any noob Active Directory boxes? Okay, so first of all, yes. But second of all, you may not find them as Newbie because I've done Newbie Active Directory boxes before, and people are always like, "This is Newbie." Like, okay, Cobalt, like Active Directory requires a little bit of something. Okay, a little bit of something. But we'll TryHackMe is not known for their Windows machines. They do have Windows machines. They have plenty of them. It's just that they keep like cutting the resources. But I'll throw some Active Directory machines in there. I'll throw a few in there. What boxes do you guys want to see? What do you want to see? Give me some ideas here. What do you guys think? I'll start marking down. I have a text document open. We're gonna mark down what boxes people want to see. People want to see people want to see those Active Directory machines. So let's see if we can't find a nice Active Directory machine to do. Can we do Windows? We could do Volnet Roasted. That's certainly Active Directory. We've done Volnet Active. We've gone through Throwback before. That's also a paid lab. Attactive Directory, perhaps? What do you guys think? Can I get your Tmux config? Have I not sent it to you? Sleek Socks, have I not sent you my Tmux config? Send me a Discord message right now. I'll send it to you right now. I'll send it to you right now. Send me a Discord message right now and I'll send it to you. You were sick back then? Okay, I'm sorry. I must have just, I must have spaced it. Send me a video, send me a Discord message right now and I'll send it to you. Okay, cool. Alright, hang on a second. I'm finding it for you. Keep in mind that it's not going to work out of the box and I don't really have time to explain this because I'm on stream right now. But you're going to need to install OhmyTmux in order for this to work. You'll need to install OhmyTmux and you need to also install the Powerline fonts. Once you do that, my Tmux comp should work. Sorry about that. I can, if you have questions about it later, I'll give it to you. But that's my Tmux. That's my Tmux configuration. Okay. Beginner level challenge. We're looking for some nice Active Directory. Windows. AV evasion. But that's... there's not a whole lot of options here. We might want to switch to Hack the Box, maybe? No, let's... You know, tell you what, we'll do... On Thursday, I want to do Scrambled. Scrambled was just... I saw the IPSec video pop up on my feed. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw the video pop up. And Scrambled is Active Directory. So that one is retired. So we're going to do Scrambled on Thursday, okay? How does that sound? We're going to do Active Directory on Thursday. We've done Blackfield on Hack the Box. We're going to do TryHackMe today and not Hack the Box because we're going to do Hack the Box on Thursday. Is this Active Directory? Is Fusion Corp Active Directory? Well, we'll throw Fusion Corp in anyways. I'm doing my best. Listen, here's some fellas. I'm doing my best to get you some Active Directory. The problem is I've done like all of them. I've done all of them, and I'm trying to pick ones that I haven't done in a while. I'm trying to pick ones I haven't done in a while. If it's been long enough since I've done it, I'm happy to do it. But I also have to pick ones that are... We'll put a Active Directory in there, too. Can we turn down the music a tad? Yeah, sure. If it's up too high, I understand. Tell you what, let's switch to FTO. I'll tell you what, we'll do Metroid Prime this time. There we go. Church Active Directory. I mean, it's going to be... It's basically the same stuff. Enterprise... RazorBlack. We'll put RazorBlack in there as well. I feel like I've done Active Directory recently. Again, this is Newbie Tuesday, so it's... But I know you guys want to see the Active Directory, so I'm doing my best to accommodate you guys here. Newbie Tuesday, so I don't want to leave anyone in the lurch, though. Let's do Hacker versus... Oh, we already did that one. Server trouble in Bedrock. Sure. We'll throw this one in. Bedrock. Again, I'm trying to keep it... Okay, there we go. There's our... We'll put the poll... We'll start the poll. Hang on a second. Yeah, I know its Active Directory is more of a walkthrough. So we're not gonna, I took that one off the list. I'm picking ones I haven't done in a while that I'm not gonna necessarily remember immediately. Okay, I'll mark the AD ones, the ones I know for sure AD. I suspect Fusion Core probably is, but I don't know if it is or not. Okay. All right, get your votes in. Bedrock was super CTF. I mean, it looks CTF-y. Look at this. It looks like it's CTF-y, but that doesn't mean there isn't stuff to be learned from it. Anyway, we always give you guys a chance to vote on this stream, and by always, I mean when I feel like it. I love democracy. I love the Republic. I demand a free one. A free what? Have you ever made some boxes other for Hack the Box, TryHackMe, or other platforms? I made my own CTF back in July. Back in July, I made my own CTF, but it was not on a platform because the initial access vector was a Twitch bot. My you exploited my actual the walkthrough is on my YouTube if you want to see what it was about. Hoodies when? They're already up for sale. They're just not good ones yet because I have to get with designers. We demand free star. She is napping in the other room, I believe. I knew it was suspicious that you randomly... Actually, I was already working on a Twitch bot. I just, while I was writing it, I had the idea of what if there was a CTF where you got... What if you got RCE through a Twitch bot? Like, writing the Twitch bot gave me the idea. It wasn't... I didn't have the idea for the CTF and then write the Twitch bot specifically for the CTF. That's not how it happened. I started writing a Twitch bot because I wanted to start writing one. And I had the idea while working on it. And I think it worked out pretty well. You guys seem to really like that CTF. Am I wrong? You guys seem to really like that. Bonzol Dose, thank you so much for the 3 months of Bezos indoctrination. Welcome back to the All Has Red team, my friend. Thanks for supporting the stream. Dal, C9 Eclipse, and Fan2 Maximator. Thank you for the follows. It was awesome. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. We gave away some sweet prizes in that sucker. Offensive security was very kind. Looks like RazorBlack was selected. All right, let's do it. Let's get it started. I should probably start my VM. Oh, no, it is already started. Shit. Oh, right. I was updating the packages last night. We want to start up RazorBlack as soon as possible. Because if it's a domain controller, it's going to take a little bit longer to boot up. Now, again, this is Newbie Tuesday. I'm going to do my best to break this down as much as possible. I ask that you be prolific in the chat with questions, okay? Please do not be afraid to ask questions, okay? Please, please, please. Because you guys always want to see those Active Directory machines, and I always do advocate that the newbies try to get some Active Directory in them early on, okay? But, is Star a muted calico? What do you mean muted? She's just a regular calico. She's some kind of, I don't know what her breed is. She's some kind of mix. Who cares? People who care about their cats or dog breeds are like borderline animal abusers. But she's some kind of mix. She's a rescue cat. I got her from a shelter. All right, so no hacking happening just yet. All we're doing is connecting to the VPN as we always do. We usually pick the correct VPN, so let's make sure we pick let's see if it works this time. Now you're going to get a lot of output here when you first connect to the VPN. All you're really looking for is this initialization sequence completed business here. Let's switch to this. Switch to that scene right there. Let's go. Let's open this up. TryHackMe, RazorBlack. Now, I believe I have done RazorBlack before, but I do not remember it, which is fine. I'll take what I can get regarding the Active Directory machines. I think I know what I'm going to do for my next CTF as well. I don't know when I'm going to start setting it up, because this one is substantially more... ambitious. But I don't know. So I don't know when we're going to be doing it. But I have some ideas for the next CTF. More ambitious? Oh yes, that was not even close to as ambitious as I could go. Although the problem is I keep picking stuff that doesn't fit within like the TryHackMe or Hack the Box like framework. I like to go kind of think outside the box a little bit. Definitely need more Riley Reid references, like 69 nice % more. I agree, more of the sex number. All right, so we're connected. We're waiting. Let's start up my my terminal here. So there we go. CD TryHackMe. CD RazorBlack. We're making a working directory for us to work in. So this is Newbie Tuesday. I'm going to do my absolute best to break down this Active Directory machine as much as possible, okay? C2, it might be. We'll see. What's going on? How you doing, Al? I'm doing pretty good, Gambit. I can't really complain. Work is an absolute bitch right now, but I'm not going to... well, I could complain, but nobody would listen. So I'm trying not to be too prolific about complaining. Let's minimize some of these windows. Okay. Minimize that window. Complain or mauled? Complain. Let's start some notes. Okay, hang on just a second. RazorBlack right here. We will go ahead and collect all of this, and we're going to delete it all. There we go. I didn't read any of it. So this is as good as blind. Okay. I've deleted all my notes. Okay. Let's do it. Let's hack RazorBlack, shall we? So this is a Windows Active Directory-based machine. We're going to start with nmap tech sc. Let's start with the typical nmap scan. So I'm going to describe what this is doing, because again, this is Newbie Tuesday. This is we're doing just a basic port scan, just your typical basic port scan. That was Obsidian. Yes, that was Obsidian. I use Obsidian primarily because it does not push to the cloud. I am irritated by note-taking software that insists upon pushing to the cloud like OneNote does. This is a problem because I need to take notes for clients. And my notes as a penetration tester, red teamer, are going to necessarily have sensitive information in them. Vulnerabilities I found, credentials I'm using, things like that. And I can't have that shit pushing to the cloud. So Obsidian is the best solution I've come up with that doesn't push to the cloud by default. And it's just a simple markdown parser that works better. It works good for me. Just learned about volatility this week. Is forensics more of a defensive, or is there use cases for offensive? There's definitely a forensics case. I mean, forensics specifically, I would say it's mostly a defensive sort of situation. But I'm not saying that solo. Like, there certainly is uses for volatility on the offensive side as well. So we're doing a port scan, and we're doing the TAC SC to run default scripts. Is it secure to use VS Code? VS Code does not push to the cloud, so you can use VS Code just fine. TAC SV for enumerate versions. Keep in mind, it doesn't matter if you like your notes syncing to the cloud and you're not taking notes on clients. That's fine. Like, just having your notes, if you just want your notes synced to the cloud, that's perfectly fine. The problem is that my notes have sensitive information in them that I cannot risk being leaked. And it's much more of a chance of a leak if my stuff is being pushed to the cloud. It sounds like some annoying... So TAC SV is to enumerate versions. We're going to do we're going to have nmap do version discovery of the services that it enumerates. TAC ON is to output to a file in nmap format. We'll call it, we'll make the file prelim. We'll just call it, this is the file it's going to save to. TAC V is verbose mode. Like, whenever it normally nmap only gives us output when it finishes the scan, but TAC V will force it to tell us whenever it finds a port open. TAC PN is to not ping Skip the ping. And we're seeing a number of ports open. So what ports stick out to you immediately, friends? Again, I'm highlighting this. This is Newbie Tuesday, so I want to make sure that we understand what you're not going to understand everything that happens today, and that's okay. Please, if you're a newbie, please don't get lost in the idea of please do not get lost in the idea of understanding literally every word that comes out of my mouth. Okay, please. The important thing is you're picking up little bits and pieces, the methodology, okay? Little things that are gonna come back to you later when you're doing this stuff. So what do I want you to take note of in this situation? I want you to take note of this port, this port, this one, and this one, predominantly. Just by looking at what are we doing today? Tiberius, much like your confusion about encryption, Tiberius is now not capable of looking at the screen under my face, which is on his stream. He puts the box in the exact same place, but on my stream, will not actually look at that place to determine what box is being done. Instead, he's posting in chat, you didn't Zor encrypt that. That is true. I did not Zor encrypt it. Are we talking about... No, we're not going to talk about Zor encryption again. Anyway, before Tiberius so rudely derailed me, port 88 is Kerberos. This indicates it's a key distribution center, a KDC, a key distribution center. This is usually the domain controller, okay? Almost always the domain controller is going to have port 88 open, okay? One of the ways in which I scan for domain controllers specifically is that I'll just in my nmap scan, I'll specify specifically port 88. Because you can have a KDC that is not a domain controller. It can happen, but it is rare in corporate networks to see that. So it's a pretty good guess if you're looking for domain controllers that if it has port 88 open, it's probably the domain controller. What is 389? 389 is LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. This is the protocol by which Active Directory works effectively. The protocol by which Active Directory is really a way of categorizing and assigning roles and users and stuff in a large network. It's a way of categorizing machines and users and groups and all this stuff, and all that stuff takes place over LDAP. 636 is LDAP over SSL, so it's encrypted. It's an encrypted version of LDAP. You'll usually see both of them open. Some other interesting ports, port 53. Port 53 on TCP is a domain controller. Now, you might say, is DNS. Now, you might say, well, Al, I thought DNS worked over UDP. It does, but it also works over TCP. Some things DNS servers need to communicate over TCP for, and typically, if you're talking specifically to a DNS server, port 53 TCP is going to be open for zone transfer purposes. Okay? So, the domain controller is often the DNS server for the domain as well, so you'll often see port 53 open as well. So, effectively, Active Directory is effectively... Listen, Clay Hacks. Listen. I cannot brain today. I have the dumb, okay? The braining is in short supply today. I'm doing my best up here. Okay, so those are the ports I want you to predominantly notice right off the bat. And you're seeing a lot of ports open. I'm sure this is intimidating. You're like, Al, all I know how to handle is port 22 and port 80. What is all of this garbage? And that's kind of the point. Well, first of all, domain controllers are going to have a lot of ports open. That's just pretty much always the way it is. Okay? You better do my insane web app box when I release it on TryHackMe. There's going to be Zor encryption in there, isn't there? If something isn't Zor encrypted, I will be upset. I will Zor encrypted. I will be upset. Just for me. Yeah, it would just be a fuck you. Well, of course I'll do it. I don't want you to be intimidated by this. Notice how I'm pointing to specific ports. I want to say, hey, if you see that port, you know a little bit about the machine that you're dealing with right off the bat. So you see port 88, you know it's probably a domain controller. You see LDAP, you know it's probably a domain controller. You see 53, probably a domain controller. Okay? Keep that in mind. So you can scroll down here to see what the actual results of the scan were. Lots of ports open. Lots of these can just be ignored for right now. Lots of these can just be ignored. We particularly want to take note of this. This is the domain name. Now, why is this important? You need to, because we can already communicate with the box, right? We have the IP address. Why don't we just use the IP address? Well, Windows Active Directory networks usually don't like to communicate by IP address specifically. They like host names, especially Kerberos. Kerberos really wants host names. So knowing the host name is actually very, very, very important. So let's go ahead and let's copy this into our notes. Let's take note of this. Notice how I'm teaching you how to parse all of this crazy output that you're getting, and take what the interesting stuff from it. Like the domain is RazorBlack.TryHackMe. The computer name is Haven DC, and the domain is RazorBlack.TryHackMe. Now, is there any web server or anything open like that? We're not seeing any web server, so we don't have any WordPress to poke at or anything like that. Okay, all right. So I know your guys are lost. You guys are lost. How do I start enumerating this box if there's no web server? Hack the Box has taught me that there's literally always a web server. That's okay. That's all right. Take deep breaths. Deep breaths with Al, okay? Everyone, deep breaths. Deep breaths. We're going through it, okay? Often, usually in the real world, I don't think I've ever seen a domain controller with a web app on it. Maybe it'll have port 80 open, which is just running the default IIS web page, but there isn't any actual web server there. It's just for whatever reason IIS is running for no reason. I do see that fairly frequently, but I don't think I've ever seen, in the real world, you don't usually see web servers running on domain controllers. They've got better shit to do. So let's go ahead and make sure we're doing our full port scan. Let's do a full port scan here. Now, going through these, we've only scanned the most common 1,000 ports up here. So now we're going to specify TAC-P-TAC, which is going to scan port 1 to 65535. So all TCP ports. TAC-V is verbose, and TAC, we're going to output to a file in Nmap format called all ports. Okay? So we're going to start doing that. That's going to take a little while to complete. While we're going to do that, we're going to go over to one of my favorite tools, and I'm going to highly recommend, I'm going to deeply recommend that you take this tool and you burn it into your brain. And what tool do you think that's going to be? What tool, those of you who've been here before, when you're dealing with a Windows Active Directory network, De Croyson is correct. CrackMapExec. CrackMapExec. Okay? For example, yesterday, I was asked by somebody, for internal network penetration tests, what are my top 3 favorite tools other than Nmap? And honestly, the first thing I said was, I don't even think Nmap would make the list. Honestly, I don't think Nmap makes the list of the top 3 tools. If I had to pare it down to 3 tools that are the most useful on internal network penetration tests, I don't think Nmap makes the list. CrackMapExec is number 1 on the list. You definitely want... Why do you use Nmap instead of faster ones like RustScan? Because, I haven't personally used RustScan. I'm sure it's faster. I believe you when you say it's faster. I just have not used it. There's no reason. If you would like to use RustScan, that's perfectly fine. Impacket is up there. Impacket was one of the 3. Responder was one of the 3. And CrackMapExec was one of the 3. If it had gone to 4, it would have been Bloodhound after that. If it had gone to number 4, Bloodhound would have been there, and then it was probably Nmap in number 5. Nmap in a very poor number 5. Those 5 tools are going to be really all you need for most internal network penetration tests, realistically speaking. Realistically speaking, CrackMapExec, Responder, Impacket, Bloodhound, and Nmap are really all you're going to need. How do you operate without Nmap? So first of all, keep in mind that you're typically dealing with entire networks of thousands of hosts, sometimes tens of thousands of hosts, okay? Nmap is not useful in that scenario, my dude. The scans will take too long to complete, and they're not going to give you useful information. Okay? So instead, CrackMapExec is used for identifying hosts because it can just reach out to people over because the machines are going to be talking over SMB for the most part. And also you just listen. You just open up your ears. You don't scan at all. You just open up your ears and you listen. Okay? But I'm not saying you don't use Nmap. You will in some situations, like if you wanted to scan a specific machine or a specific subnet. But you usually, if you're just going onto these internal networks and scanning 10,000 hosts with Nmap, you're not going to get actionable information out of this. Will there be a VOD for this? Absolutely. The VOD will be up immediately after the stream, and then I post it on YouTube later on. So let's look at CrackMapExec. SMB. Keep in mind, I'm trying to be as verbose as possible because this is Newbie Tuesday, okay? If I'm leaving anything out, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Please ask. Please. I know this is going to be complicated stuff. You do need to know this stuff as a beginner. The earlier you start trying to ingest this stuff, the better it's going to be. Gotta go. Thanks for the knowledge. Hey, thanks, man. I hope you show up another time. Okay. All right, CrackMapExec. So right now we're only CrackMapExecing one host, but you could CrackMapExec whole subnets, IP ranges, all kinds of stuff. All right, so CrackMapExec, just by running CrackMapExec, this is the protocol. You can also can you explain CrackMapExec? What is the full power of this tool? CrackMapExec can do a lot of stuff. As suggested by its name. Crack, as in crack passwords. Map, as in map a network, map network shares, etc. Exec, execute commands on hosts. CrackMapExec can do a lot of stuff. Okay? A lot of stuff. Byte Bleeder's adding new shit to it all the time. It can do all kinds of stuff. Its functionality is more than I can explain in a single stream. But I'll try to make plenty of use of it today, okay? So, all right. So, it's the syntax is going to be CrackMapExec, SMB, which is the protocol. CrackMapExec has a number of protocols it can communicate over, like SMB, LDAP, MSSQL, WinRM, etc. The most common is SMB, and then the IP address, and then we see that CrackMapExec identified a machine. We notice it points out the Windows 10 build. CrackMapExec will automatically determine what build of a machine you're dealing with. 64-bit, the name of the box, the domain of the box is on, and it also points out if SMB signing is turned on, or if SMB or if it supports SMB version 1. In this case, it's a domain controller, so SMB signing is typically going to be true. SMB signing means that whenever you send an SMB message, the server requires you to sign it so that it cannot be modified in transit. This defeats NTLM relay, ideally. So a couple of things we can do here is we can just try to log in with TAC-U and TAC-P. What do we call this? What do we call this kind of authentication with no username and no password? Like we're trying to authenticate to a machine with no username and no password. What do we call that? Yeah, we call it a null session. It's null or null authentication. Good. You should always try for this. A poorly configured server will allow null authentication or guest authentication. Another thing you can try is guest. Isn't the same as SMB client. Yeah, you could do all of this with SMB client as well, but CrackMapExec bundles a lot of tools into one convenient package, which is why I recommend it. CrackMapExec is literally basically all you need for lateral movement, credential harvesting, all kinds of stuff. Remote code execution, all kinds of shit. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how valuable CrackMapExec is, okay? I cannot. Anonymous login is for FTP, not SMB. Both of them can do it. Is CrackMapExec useful for Linux? Usually not. Crack Map Exec is made to be used on like corporate networks. Most of its stuff is Windows exploitation based. So yeah, I would probably only use it for Windows. So we don't get anything here. No free lunch with null or guest authentication. Account disabled, access denied. So now we go back to our Nmap scan and we look at other ports. Our full port scan is still running, so let's look and see what ports are open here. Mount D. Kerberoast. So we could try for like on port 88, we could try for like a password spray if we had any idea of any usernames, but we don't have any username ideas. Typically the thing with domain controllers is you pretty much need to have some manner of you need to have some credentials to interact with Kerberos. Like typically. So mount these nuts. Yeah, we could mount these nuts, okay? Why is poking a DNS ever worth it? Potentially, yeah. Potentially. You could try for like a zone transfer sort of situation. You typically don't see that, but you can do dig at what's the 10.10.145.169. It was RazorBlack.TryHackMe. Okay, so we get RazorBlack.TryHackMe with this A record. Interestingly, you got nothing there. Let's do sudo vim. Let's add RazorBlack.TryHackMe to our Etsy hosts file before I forget about it again. I was going to do it before and then forgot. You could also do a try for a zone transfer as well. I haven't. I just really wanted to add this to my Etsy hosts before I forget about it. We're going to do that in just a second. RazorBlack.TryHackMe. What is it? Havoc DC? Haven DC. Okay, so we'll add some host names that we can use there. Now we can do dig AXFR. This is for a zone transfer. Transfer failed. Okay, so a poorly configured domain controller, our DNS server, will allow a zone transfer here. But this one apparently doesn't allow it. Is poking it. Everyone is getting. Can you explain what a zone transfer is? Yes. So, so when you set up a new DNS server, sometimes it needs all of the records from another DNS server in order to do its job. A zone transfer is when a DNS server communicates with another DNS server and says, "Hey, I need all of your records on whatever domain," and then the DNS server responds with all of its records. Okay. A poorly configured DNS server will just allow you to do that unauthenticated. But a correctly configured one will require authentication. So let's look at... one thing that was interesting was that Mount D port. I don't think that's normal. Like, whatever this is, 2049. The rest of these look fairly normal for Windows. Windows domain controllers are going to have a lot of stupid... Oh, there's NFS. I didn't even look at this. So there's an NFS server. So who knows what NFS is? Who knows what NFS is? XNC with the 10 months. Welcome back, my friend. Dadox HD, never hacked me. Little DD, thanks for the 69 Tiggle biddies. Z Jibs, Luca Luska the Great, Not Strumizer, and Don Malocello. Thank you for the follow. Raleigh the Zergling, thanks for the 5 months. Welcome back. Yeah, network file
Ahunta
service.
must hunt.
Similar to SMB, it's much like just it's basically having it's an open source version to like have file shares. Okay? It's file shares but open source and not SMB. So we can actually use, is it show mount? It's show mount tac E, I think. Haven DC. We can see what mount points there are. We do see that there is a mount point that is available to everyone here. So mount tac T. So we're going to use a mount command. So we'll make dir. Let's make dir /mount. Let's make a directory to mount to. RazorBlack. Okay. Sudo mount tac T NFS. We're specifying that we're mounting an NFS share. Okay. Hopefully I get this command correct. Is it Haven DC? How does it go? How do you mount an NF? I can't remember the exact syntax. Let's just Google it really quickly. I hate mount commands. Like, let me just Google it really quickly. I can't remember my mount commands right now. Turn that off. Okay, mount NFS share Linux. Okay. IP : remote folder. Okay, so the IP address : or the host name in our case, since it's in our Etsy hosts. The folder is going to be /users, and then the mount point is going to be mount RazorBlack. See if we get it there. Cool machine, kind of annoying at the end. Well, we're going to get it. Okay, we get no output. That means it was successful. Okay, that's pretty common in Linux. When you get no output, that means it was okay. So we'll check out mount RazorBlack here. And we can see we have employee status and sbradley.txt. So let's copy. Let's just copy all of this stuff and move it to /home. Alhazred. TryHackMe. RazorBlack. Okay.
A hunter must
We'll
hunt.
cd back to our previous directory. We'll exit out of our sudo. Sudo umount. We don't need it mounted anymore, so we're going to unmount it. Oh, it's cat S. Bradley. Let's change its owner so that I have the proper permissions. There we go. And we get the first flag. Okay, so there's our first flag. Okay. Mount is so pragma. What's pragma? Can you briefly explain mount and unmount, please? Yes. Okay, so mount is telling Linux, hey, I want you to I have a new file system I want you to connect to and allow me to access. We're going to connect that file system to somewhere in our file system. In this case, we're using the mount command to tell the Linux kernel, hey, I have a file share of type NFS on this server at this location, and I want you to connect that file share to this part of the file server, or this part of our file system, so that we can access those files. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So this is essentially an unauthenticated file share. And I know a lot of you are like, well, Al, surely, Mr. Streamer, surely, people do not leave their file shares. Do not ever leave their file shares unauthenticated. What possible use case is there for that? It worked on Uber. Like 2 weeks ago, Uber was completely compromised by domain admin credentials in an unauthenticated file share. And I can tell you as a red teamer, we often spend days, just solid days, combing through file shares. It's the most boring shit ever, but we do it because it works. Okay? We comb through file shares like just endlessly looking for those credentials because it works very frequently. Okay? Very, very frequently. And it's also stealthy. Notably, it's very stealthy to just comb through file shares because employees are doing that all the time. So it's very stealthy to just kind of sit there and read files that you can access in file shares. Totally common. Have a meeting at 5, already learned a lot. Yeah, come back and watch the VOD. I'm glad to have you here, Carla. Literally the one time I've done a red team engagement, we got DA because IT left a share open with passwords and scripts. I keep telling everyone, I keep preaching the good word. And every single time we see this, somebody in chat, it hadn't happened this time because I was going to time you out if it happened. It hasn't happened this time, but every single time people go, why would anyone have that? Or, that's so unrealistic. This is the most realistic stuff in the universe, friends. Okay? All right. So, we do have a employee status. I think we have LibreOffice, or do we have OpenOffice now? We keep switching between them. God damn it. Do I really not have it? Oh, yes, we do have OpenOffice. It just doesn't opened by the OpenOffice command. Okay, let's view this Excel document. But Mr. Dreamer, it never happens. No, it absolutely does. 100% does. Raleigh the Zergling with 5 months of re-indoctrination. Welcome back, my friend. Bundle 5. You know, with the first time Bezos indoctrination into the cult. Welcome, my friend. The old coder, thanks for the follow. Start recovery. Sure, I would love to recover it. What do we have? Okay, so what do we have here, friends? So what do we have here? We have a list of usernames, but we have a list of names, presumably of people in their organization, okay? And some like Haven Secret Hackers Club, some kind of, and like whatever type of hacker they are. Oh, a Stego specialist. Oh shit. Oh shit. Stego. So what else is of note here? We see this Excel document with these usernames. What else did we find on this share that's of note? We also have the flag. The flag doesn't count. Other than the flag and this Excel document with these usernames, what is useful here? It's on the screen right now. Yes, Angel D. Clarify it. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Angel D and Shin Ryzen. S. Bradley. S. Bradley, the name of this file, seems to indicate their naming convention. Because typically, in domain environments, they'll usually have some kind of username naming convention. Where they'll take the person's name and they'll make it like, it'll be like Davin.port or D.port or D.port or Port Davin or something like that. And this is very important to know on an internal network, okay? Because if you can get a good list of viable usernames, you have a lot of power. You missed the start. We haven't done very much. All we did was mount an unsecured file share and extract these files off of it. Where else in the real world, where might be some good places to locate credentials, like to locate a username convention like this? this website, hunter.io. Hunter.io. Let's type in Tesla. So we see that if we type in Tesla.com, we see Hunter.io has like 780 results of email addresses in its database that apply to Tesla. Now, you need to have a subscription to extract a list of all the usernames, or of all the emails. But the most common username pattern is first name and as first initial and last name at Tesla.com. So one thing you can do is you can come here, if you're enumerating a company, you can come here to get their username schema, and then you can scrape all of their employees off of LinkedIn and extrapolate their email addresses from this. Does that make sense? So let's take all of these. Let's take all of these here. I bet you this copy's like ass. Copy. And let's go into Vim. Users.text. Let's set paste. Oh my god, that actually worked. Okay. Well, we have a ton of spaces, it looks like. Okay, we have spaces, but we can fix that. We could just remove all of the... let's do this before we start removing... Before we clean it up, let's just go back to this. Oops. Didn't mean to leave. Set paste again. Paste it in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take every one of these and make it d.port. There's quicker ways to do this. There's a tool called name mash that I'll use a lot of times to do this kind of thing. But we only have a short list of usernames here, so I'll keep it simple and do it this way. Again, first name, first initial, and then last name is their usernames. Probably. We're not speaking in certainties, but probably. S. Bradley and C. Lynn. Okay. Now, we can do %S. Remove all the spaces. Oh, there is no spaces. Is there tabs then? Looks like they're tabs. So let's do %S. I can't remember how to do white space at all, but there's tabs. We can replace tab with nothing. So we're just removing white space from the ends of the strings here. Okay. All right, so we got users.text. So now what are we doing? Use your delete key, for God's sake. I will not. I will do my own thing. Because fuck the police, as it were. What's the name mash tool? Cannot find with Google. It's name mash GitHub. I think this is it. Here, I'll post it in chat. Yeah. So we have a list of usernames. And so one of the things that we can do is we can go here to a tool called Kerberoast. We can come here to a tool called Kerberoast, and Kerberoast is one of my favorite tools for interacting with Kerberoast. It's very useful. It's very useful for password spraying. And things like that. And we're going to determine which of these usernames actually exist. And I could go straight to RazorBlack from here, but I'm taking it one step at a time. This is Newbie Tuesday, so I'm trying to show you another useful tool. So we need to specify the domain controller. It's Haven DC. The domain is RazorBlack.TryHackMe. It's going to be user enum. We want the command we want is user enum. Kerberoast wants a command first and then options afterwards. And then it wants a file. We need to give it a file of... RazorBlack users.txt. So here we go. So now we have 3 valid users. We have L. Vitrova, T. Williams, and S. Bradley. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? So the thing about Kerberos is, Kerberos allows you to send a request as a user, and depending on how the DC responds, you can tell if that user exists or not. So there's a username enumeration. You can always enumerate usernames. If you give the KDC valid usernames, it will tell you those usernames are valid. Does that make sense? Is that good? Hey, Mr. Robot. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your mental health, my man. Let me know if I can help you at all. Reach out, talk anytime. I love talking to you, my man. You don't need the full DC name? You do, but Kerberoot tacks it onto the end. You can see that Kerberoot is automatically tacking the domain onto the end. It's just that's just how Kerberoot works. So what are we doing now, chat? First, we're gonna write down these valid users. Yeah, we're going to do an ASREP roast. I'll explain what that is here in just a second. %s to apply to the whole thing. Start the string. Name, colon. Space. Replace it with nothing, and there we go. And then we can do it again. We can go %s, @sign, replace with nothing. There we go. So we have valid usernames here. Okay, so what is an ASREP roast? So Kerberos has a optional a setting called pre-authentication. Okay, pre-authentication disabled. The setting is called pre-authentication disabled. Pre-authentication is when you first communicate with Kerberos and say, "Hey, I want to authenticate as whatever user." You need to send some data, typically a timestamp. You need to send a timestamp to the DC that is encrypted by the password hash of the user. So you need to basically prove that you have the password of the user. Okay? Some of the more astute among you may notice that you're not actually proving that at all. But that's a story for another time. Okay? And the domain controller will check to see if it can decrypt your input, and if it can, it will understand that you are this person, and it will respond with a ticket granting ticket, essentially. I'm simplifying it for simplicity's sake. Kerberos is very complicated, okay? But you can actually disable that process. You can say, hey, Kerberos, I don't want you to check if the user has the password hash when they reach out to you. When they connect to you, I don't want you to check to see if the user has a password hash. Instead, I just want you to send the ASREP, the ASREP response, without checking that. So if anyone contacts the DC and pretends to be, I don't know, L. Vitrova, if L. Vitrova has pre-authentication disabled, Kerberos will respond with an encrypted ASREP response. That is not useful to us in and of itself, but we can crack it. Okay? Isn't the username that is sent encrypted? No, it's the password. I believe it's a timestamp. It's a timestamp. I'm almost positive. That's why Kerberos is so sensitive to time. Kerberos can only be off by like a couple of minutes at most. Otherwise, it won't work. Your time needs to be synced up. Okay, so we can use a tool from Impacket. Impacket is another one of those tools that I mentioned. That's like the top 3 most useful tools. We're going to do get NP users. Impacket get NP users. Haven DC. RazorBlack.TryHackMe. And we're going to remove that. We're not going to actually we're going to check all 3 of these users to see if they have pre-authentication disabled. Is it input? Is it tac input file? Oh, God damn it, I can't remember. We want to deliver it a file input. Users file, tac users file. That's the one. Haven DC. Tac input users file. Valid users.text. We can do tac format John. We're going to use John to crack these hashes. And then the IP address. Then once RazorBlack doesn't want the IP address, it just wants RazorBlack.TryHackMe. And there we go. We see that T. Williams actually doesn't has pre-authentication disabled. Does that make sense? This is a very common thing. You see this all the time in the real world. So we're going to, again, this hash is not useful to us, but except for we can copy it. Vim twilliams.hash. You can paste it in there. And we can John twilliams.hash. Is this where you Kerberoast? We as-rep roasted. That was an as-rep roast. A Kerberoast is a different thing entirely. But we're probably going to do a Kerberoast here in a second, so stand by. Why would pre-authentication be disabled? I see it very commonly with like single sign-on accounts. Sometimes sometimes organizations will have a single account that's handling their single sign-on. And that single sign-on account is logging in constantly all day long. Like literally constantly users are authenticating with that thing. So the single sign-on account, they might disable pre-authentication just to reduce load on the network, reduce resources on the DC, stuff like that. Kerberos is the one with spins, yes? Yes, it is. It is not cracking yet. Is this supposed to crack? Surely this is supposed to crack. We'll give it a minute. We'll give it a minute. Oh, how's Red authenticated with Matic? Yeah, she authenticates with null sessions. Can you confirm if RPC null authentication is allowed? I already tried it. Or I tried it with SMB. Roast potatoes. We have cracked it. Roast potatoes. So we can now do crackmap exec, SMB, Haven DC, tac U T Williams, tac P roast potatoes. Let's go ahead and copy this. Let's make sure that we take note of those credentials. We write those down. Okay. Okay. All right. So crackmap exec confirms that these credentials do work. That's this little green plus sign here. That indicates that we successfully authenticated as T. Williams. So we can now try to authenticate with WinRM instead of SMB. See if we have WinRM access, we can just execute commands on the host.
What's taters, precious? Potatoes, boil em, mash em, stick em in a stew.
Everyone loves taters, precious. All right, so we do not have WinRM access. Feels bad, man. But let's go back to SMB and let's see what file shares T. Williams has access to. Okay, CrackMap exec is going to enumerate the file shares for us. And we see some interesting ones here. We see that we both have the share here on the left, and we have the permissions that we have on the right. Okay? WinRM stands for Windows Remote Management. It's oftentimes how administrators remotely access systems to execute commands. We don't have any access to the admin $share or the C $share. The C $share is the typical file directory. Not directory, the typical file share. Does SMB server... It just provides a directory list. It's not like brute forcing with GoBuster or anything. So, read access to the IP C $share is quite interesting. You typically always have read access to these two. Sysvol share typically has group policy information, which could be interesting to us. There's also this trash share, which we don't have any access to, but we do have IPC $share here. What is evil WinRM? Evil WinRM is a way of using WinRM for malicious purposes. So what can we do here, chat? What way forward do we have here? What way forward do we have here, fellas? No, we can't enumerate trash. I'd love to look at trash, but we can't. We don't have any permissions. Ah, Gambit. RID brute force. I like that idea. I like that idea. What are you talking about? RID brute. What are we talking about with RID brute? Well, let's... So every principal, every account, a principal in Windows is essentially just an entity. It's an entity. It's a user or a machine or a service account or something like that. Okay, a principal, and every principal is going to be assigned a service principal name or a SID. Okay. So what if SID stands for security identifier, what does RID stand for? RID stands for relative identifier. This is an example SID right here. This is let me zoom in on this so you can see it. This is an example SID. Where is the RID is the last part. You see it's divided up by hyphens here. This is the domain SID. And then the final little hyphenated section here is going to be the relative identifier. It's going to uniquely identify the principal within this domain SID. Does that make sense? The relative identifier is small, you may notice. And in fact, these are predictable. And you can iterate through these to determine which principals exist. Okay? And CrackMap exec can do that for us. Watch. We could just give it the RID brute option here. Basically an APT using Impacket. Oh, I believe you. Impacket's very useful. Of course an APT would use Impacket. Impacket's very powerful. Why wouldn't it use it? So notice, it's giving us a lot of accounts. It's giving us groups. These are principals that are assigned different relative identifiers. And CrackMap exec is just iterating through each one of these relative identifiers and trying to and finding out which ones exist. Does this make sense? So we essentially have all users in the domain now. All users and groups. Is everyone following me? We see we have some more usernames here. We have S. Bradley. We have Zionid. So we can make sure that we have all of these in our list of users. We have S. Bradley, T. Williams. I think we already have those. Vim valid users.txt. Let's add Zionid. Okay. So, because that's a user. We want to make sure we update our username list. What else can we do here? What does CrackMap how does CrackMap exec determine the domain SID? It can get by logging in as the user, by logging in as the user, it can determine the user SID, and the user SID contains the domain SID. The user SID contains the domain SID. So then CrackMap exec just takes this part at the end and increments it. That's it. So we have a list of usernames here. These are usernames too. By the way, the RID of 500 is always administrator. The built-in administrator account is always 500. RID 500. Why only adding one of the found users? Because we already have these other ones. We already have these other ones in there. How noisy is RID brute? It's pretty noisy, but only on one machine. It's not terribly noisy unless there's a lot of monitoring happening on that one machine, which it may be for a domain controller. It might get detected. I'm not actually sure. Maybe GPP and sysvol? Yeah, we could look for GPPs and sysvol. That's more rare these days. I'm not going to go straight to that, but you're absolutely right that there could be group policy passwords in sysvol, like a universally set administrator password. That does still exist. But right now, I think I want to do a Kerberoast. So what is a Kerberoast? It sounds like ASREP roasting, but they are honestly quite different. Oh, not that different, but okay. So, service accounts in Windows domain controllers, as the name indicates, are meant to be logged into by services. Okay? Services are not being logged into by people. Okay? People are not logging in. It's a non-interactive login. So, services usually do not have to supply their password every time that they log in. Instead, if you just reach out to Kerberos and say, "Hey, I'm this service, and I have valid credentials for any account in the domain," the domain controller will respond with a service ticket for that service. Okay? The service ticket is not useful to us. Much like the ASREP roast, the service ticket is not useful to us unless we can crack it. So we need actual valid credentials to do a Kerberoast. You cannot just contact Kerberos unauthenticated. You do need valid credentials, but they can be any credentials in the domain. So we'll do T. Williams. It needs to be RazorBlack. RazorBlack.TryHackMe /T Williams. Okay. And we'll see what spins are available to us. We have to put his password in. Roast potatoes. And we do have a spin here. We see that Zionid. What is a spin? A spin is a service principal name. All service accounts are going to have a service principal name assigned to them, like a unique identifier for the service. And get user spins is just pulling all of the usernames that have service principal names set. And now if we add the TAC request option here, we can extract the tickets. A ticket for this, anyway, for this account. Make sure TAC format John. Maybe it doesn't want TAC format. Roast potatoes. Uh-oh. Did we lose? You guys there? Can you hear me? And my internet went down. Great. Fuck. Okay, what do we got? Are we connecting? I might have to stop the stream and start it back over again. God damn it. There go half my viewers. And it's down again.